All right, everyone. So today we're going to be starting our comics. You're going to need 2 sheets. You're going to need the comic brainstorming worksheet. Don't worry, it looks like a lot, but it's really not a lot. And you need a comic panel worksheet that looks just like this. This side is the front, and the larger square is on the top. See how it gets a little bit smaller each time? Okay. So you're going to start off first with your worksheet. You're not going to touch the panels yet. You only want to work on the worksheet. Now, our main standard talks a lot about planning, so that's what we're going to be focusing on first, is our planning, working everything out before we start our drawing. So the first thing you need to do, make sure your name, class code, and date is on the top of your worksheet, and then we're going to go through step by step by step to help us with this project. So I have a completed one right here. I'm going to show you how it works. Once you have your name, your class code, and today's date, which is the 7th, you're going to start with the first section. You are going to be drawing a story about yourself or a fictional character. You need to figure out which one you're going to do. I chose myself. So then I wrote 3 facts about myself. The first fact I wrote is that I am a teacher. The second fact I wrote is that I love to paint. And the third fact I wrote is that painting can be messy, but I really don't like messes. So I'm going to use these 3 facts to kind of drive my story. Now your story is going to need to have 4 main sections, actually 5 main sections. The introduction, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the conclusion. You should be familiar with these from your English classes both in 6th grade and this year. So first you're going to start off by figuring out generally what you're going to do in all of these sections. So where it says front page summary, introduction, what are you introducing? I wrote that I'm going to introduce my character. You might be introducing the place where they live, but most of us are going to be introducing our character, either yourself or your fictional character. Then it says panel 1, panel 2, and panel 3. That's talking about these boxes here. This box is a panel. So this big panel right here is panel 1. This is panel 2, and this is panel 3. So it has space right here on my planning page for me to figure out exactly what I'm going to put in each panel. The first panel, I'm going to make my cover page. You can choose to do that. You can also choose to just start right in on your story and not have a cover. That's your choice. So I chose to do a cover page on my first panel. I'm going to introduce my main character on my second panel, and then I'm going to give a fact about her on my third panel. So here it would look like cover, introduce my character, introduce a fact. So right here on my demo, I have my undersketch that I did in pencil. Once I did that, then I'm starting working on the inking process, which you can see I haven't yet finished. So the first is my cover, then my introducing my main character, then sharing a fact. You can see how I'm using the sheet directly to tell me what to do on here. It's kind of like a map. Once you do your first page, you can flip it over to your second page. Now you notice we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Each row has 3 different panels in it. So the first row is your rising action, then your climax, then your falling action, then your conclusion. So for my rising action, I'm going to be setting up to paint. I have 3 panels to show me setting up to paint. So I'm going to divide this setting up to paint kind of activity into 3 different sections. Putting on a smock, setting up materials, and starting to paint. I'm taking my bigger idea and I'm breaking it down into the 3 different panels. Once I do that, so that's going to be in this section, my rising action, putting on a smock, setting up my materials, starting to paint. Then my line 2 is my climax. This is where all the action is. I'm going to have a paint explosion in mine. And I'm going to have my paint explosion grow over these 3 boxes. So it'll be a small explosion here, a medium explosion here, and a ginormous explosion here. That's how I'm doing my 3 panels for my climax, my paint explosion. Then I have my falling action. So after my climax, my big exciting paint explosion, I'm kind of going to come back a little bit. So I'm going to be cleaning up the paint. Panel 10, I'm going to be looking around and seeing the mess. 11, my character is going to be upset I might do that with words. I might do that with thoughts. I might do that with symbols. And panel 12, I'm going to start to clean. I'm starting to resolve my problem. And then in my last section, my last line, that's my conclusion. I'm going to be finished with my painting. I'm going to say, here's my painting. Look at it. It's so nice, even though it was so messy. I cleaned it all up. And then in panel 14, I'm going to be all packed up, talking about my students, referring back to what I talked about at the beginning, being a teacher. And then in my last panel, I'm going to have a the end kind of panel with big the end in bubble letters. Now, you can have action or a character in this panel, but I chose to do the end, and that's okay. Once you plan through all of these, you know exactly what you're going to put in all of your panels. You have your map here so that you have it all laid out for you. You can rearrange it on your worksheet before you put it on here. You wouldn't want to get done drawing all of it and then realize you have like 6 panels left and you already finished your story. That's why we're organizing it here. And then you can go back and you can start sketching. That's what I've started here. I've only started on my cover panel. So once I do that, I'm going to go through all the panels, use the notes that I took on my worksheet to tell me what I need to be drawing and what's happening in the story on that panel. And then once I finish, I'm going to be taking the Flair pen, and I'm going to be inking it, tracing out all of my lines, all of my drawings, adding maybe extra little details, making sure that I have my thought bubbles or my speech bubbles in there. And then the last step is to add color. So once you go through, you storyboard it, you plan it out, you sketch it, then you ink it, and then you'll be finished with your comic. If you have any questions today, come on up to talk to me. I will be walking around to monitor your progress, and you will have the whole class today to work on just the planning. Just work on the planning. Don't worry about getting it totally rushed through today. Just focus on the planning. We really want to focus on that since that is our standard today. Good luck!